to Legally Speaking. With me, Tarun Nangia. Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana, laid the foundation stone of the Hyderabad International Arbitration and Mediation Center recently. This was indeed a landmark moment in India's history in that sense, because it was the first time that the Chief Justice of India has taken such a proactive role and ensured that within his tenure, a world-class arbitration center has been set up. We know India has been getting billions of dollars in FDI, but a lot of our arbitrations are going out of India. I think this is the first real big step to ensure that India becomes an arbitration destination. Also, we can see the foresight that the Chief Justice of India has in seeing that how arbitration can take off the caseload from the judiciary's shoulders. And indeed, we know the judiciary in our country has been burdened with a lot of cases. Today, to discuss this landmark moment when Chief Justice of India has laid the foundation stone of a world-class facility that is coming up in Hyderabad, may I welcome my panelists. I have with me Justice Challa Kodandaram. Welcome. I have with me Advocate Saket Sikri joining us for the first time. Saket, welcome for the first time on the show. Looking forward to good interventions from you. I have with me Advocate Gauri Shankar. May I request Justice Challa Kodandaram to lay the foundation of today's show by, in a sense, in about 2 minutes, talking in detail about this event and also what does he feel about this thing. He's also in Hyderabad. And he's from Hyderabad. So I think he could, in a sense, give a lot of local perspective also how important it is for Hyderabad to get such a facility.
Good evening, Tarun. And good evening, Shravan and Saket. I'm happy that I got this opportunity to speak to you. Well, to put it in a nutshell, is an excellent step and a very welcome step which has been done by the Lord Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana. And the commitment which he has, if I give you one or two dates, will be clear. On 21st August, mark my words, 21st August 2021, a trust deed was drafted with the trustees, Justice R.V. Ravindran, L. Nageshwar Rao, Justice Hima Kohli, and the state government representative, and also one of the principal secretaries of the government of Telangana, to form an independent trust. Mark my words, this is a non-judicial and non-governmental body. Except that the Justice L. Nageshwar Rao and Hima Kohli are there in the trust deed, it is only a kind of the accidental way, because somebody has to be there in the trust deed, formation of the trust for the purpose of law. But an independent body has been constituted, and thereafter, within a span of by December, then an inaugural session was held, by which time the center was, a temporary center was got into existence for conducting these international arbitrations or the national arbitrations, whatever it is, basically arbitration center under the name and style of IAMC. We immediately thereafter, with regard to the details of the center which has been created within that short span of time, itself is amazing. If you look at the center in the website, because all the details in relation to facilities which are there are available online. And I was amazed to go and see that place and the facilities which they have created there within for the purpose of conducting arbitrations and also mediations. The uniqueness of this center, which has been thought out and brought out by the Honorable Chief Justice and also along with the Justice L. Nageshwar Rao, is that they have not only conceived with regard to conducting of arbitrations, both domestic and international, and it is also unique from the perspective of arbitration and mediation center, or mediation and arbitration center. And the facilities which have been created are that they have facilities for the translation and of the different languages into the English, and vice versa. One of the experience recently shared by one of my former colleague, who is a lawyer, is that the arbitration center was ready by 7:30 in the morning to conduct proceedings for Singapore time, and by 9 o'clock in the morning, the arbitration proceedings were to start at 9 a.m. Whereas the arbitration center was open and given to the parties by 7:30 and all the people in attendance. That shows the commitment. And followed with that, the temporary facility which has been created, some references have already been made, work has already commenced. Now, to the surprise of the Honorable Chief Justice, Government of the Telangana also had come forward and as promised in the public meeting by the Chief Minister, a 3.5 acres of land next to the IKEA Center. I'm sure, Tarun, you are aware of the Hyderabad as having a IKEA Center, and that too in the center of the city. In the middle of the IT sector, entire of the IT environment there in the high-tech city, a 3.5 acres of prime land has been given to completely leveled and ready for inauguration for laying foundation. And on the 12th of this month, as a matter of fact, a foundation stone was laid. I was fortunate to be there and also to put some flowers into the pit in the foundation along with the little bit of cement and mortar which is there. So that I can proudly tell in time to come to my grandchildren that a foundation in my hand also is there. The significance of this is that when I ask for furthermore details and inquiry, I find that they are creating an excellent center and the plans are personally being supervised by the Honorable Chief Justice and Justice L. Nageshwar Rao and Justice Hima Kohli and Justice Ravindran. And we all should acknowledge the enormous amount of the practical work which has been done by the Justice Ravindran, former Chief Justice of India. Though the initiative is from the Justice Ramana, backing up, and Justice Ravindran, who had also made sure that immediately after the trust is formed, the necessary rules, regulations relating to the arbitration center and method and manner of conducting of arbitrations and mediations, including the fee structure with respect to the facility as well as the arbitrators, have been completely made and put on websites. And the work has kickstarted. That shows the seriousness. And I was glad also to note that some of the references have already been made by both the Supreme Court as well as by the Telangana High Court to the center, and work has kickstarted. Some of my colleagues are already using this center, and I also propose to use it shortly in one of the arbitrations.
Thank you so much for that thing. And I think indeed a proud moment for you for being part of in a sense, the foundation stone laying ceremony for an institution that promises to groom future. In a sense, a lot of upcoming arbitrators are going to be practicing there.
One more aspect which I would like to add, Tarun, which I skipped, in fact, it skipped out of my mind. 50 crores has been given by the state of Telangana to start with. They have earmarked and it has been announced.
That's
probably in 1.5 years' time, the construction work will get completed, not by the government, but by the trust. And the plans are being overseen by the Chief Justice personally, along with others.
Thanks for sharing so many insights into the Hyderabad International Arbitration and Mediation Center. I'll go to Advocate Saket Sikri for his opening comment. Also, Saket, indeed, are we witnessing history under the Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana's tenure, with such an ambitious project coming up, and he taking a very active interest in pursuing this?
See, Tarun, Justice Ramana took over as the Chief Justice of India in April 2021. Now, we can't lose sight of the fact that in April 2021, India was in the thick of the second wave. Those were very tough and challenging times. The registries of the courts, so equally the workload on the court and the registry was very bad. Courts could not function properly. Registries could not accept matters. very, very urgent matters were being listed. From then, within a month or two, you would see all 14 courts in the Supreme Court of India were sitting. Not only urgent matters were being taken up, but even decade-old regular disputes and matters were taken up and disposed of. Now, this shows the vision of the man that immediately when he took over as the Chief Justice of India, in such challenging times, he streamlined the process of the registry. He streamlined the process of virtual courts. Mind you, the courts were virtual till very, very recently, but the courts were hearing all the matters. Now, fast forward that to July 2021, when the Honorable Chief Justice was invited to speak or in an event organized by the Singapore International Mediation Center, SIMC, where the Chief Justice was the keynote speaker along with the Chief Justice of Singapore. And I remember attending that function virtually. The importance and the wonders of mediation was emphasized by the Honorable Chief Justice. And I must say, they were not mere words. Those words as to what a mediation and or arbitration and alternate dispute resolution can achieve were immediately put in action, as just stated by the Honorable Judge on the show, that in August itself, a trust was formed. So those words about how wonderful the process of mediation can be, how arbitration can take the load off the courts, were actually put in action by the Honorable Chief Justice by forming a trust within a month of that conference. And from then to now, we actually see the progress, as has been highlighted by the Honorable Judge of the show, is very clear. That there has been inauguration, the foundation stone has been laid, 50 crore has been sanctioned by the state government of Telangana. The land has been earmarked in the heart of the city of Hyderabad. So all these things will actually build in international confidence that the Chief Justice of India is not only here to administer the court system or to streamline the court system, but integrate the arbitration and the mediation system into the administration of justice. It is very much, this is the confidence that the Chief Justice is actually giving, or the top judges of the Supreme Court are giving to the international community, that arbitration is not just a system which is alternate to courts, it is integrated into court system. And therefore, he's taken over such a prestigious monument, such a task to set up such a great institution, which will actually, as you rightly said, which will lay down a history. And, it will inspire international confidence. And it is a step to say that India is an arbitration serious nation. We take arbitration seriously. We will honor these commitments. It is a part of judicial delivery or justice delivery system in India. So these would be my initial comments on it.
Point very well taken. We will take a short break and we'll go to Advocate Shravan Shankar on the other side of the break. Welcome back. Just before the break, we had Advocate Saket Sikri giving his introductory comment. Advocate Shravan Shankar, your opening comment on this very landmark event which happened, the foundation stone laying ceremony of the Hyderabad International Arbitration and Mediation Center.
So Tarun, my viewpoint in this is that the name itself suggests that it's an International Arbitration and Mediation Center at Hyderabad. Unlike in Delhi, we have Delhi International Arbitration Center, Mumbai International Commercial Arbitration Center, where we are confining our limitations to the city or state. However, the International Arbitration and Mediation Center at Hyderabad suggests that it wants to be on par with Singapore, Dubai, London, and Paris. In fact, I can recollect an incident. I think way back in February 2022, there was a Bharat coking gas case which has come before the Chief Justice, where he was shocked to know that the parties had to pre-deposit 5 crore rupees to get into arbitration to the ICC arbitration in Paris. So he was shocked to know that people are ready to pay so much money back there in Paris, but they're not exploring local avenues. However, this thought came to him, I think perhaps newspaper articles also suggest this, that the Honorable Chief Justice was a part of a delegation, international delegation to Korea and Japan in 2015, where a lot of industrialists confronted the Indian delegation with this question that how much time will you take? So arbitration has a lot to do with commercial transactions, and time is money out there. Therefore, the problem, the advantage of India being that cost of arbitration is less, but time is more. However, when you go abroad, the scene changes. The cost of arbitration is more, time is less. So these are two advantages we have to balance. So when the first international commercial arbitration center, the institutional arbitration being ICC, then London and Singapore taking over, we are facing a situation today where a lot of domestic transaction is being resolved outside India, say Singapore, London, and it's some sort of a face down for us. So for us to first retain domestic arbitration, domestic India arbitration, and domestic arbitration where transactions are happening between domestic party and an international party. And lastly, getting arbitrations, international arbitration, say, even if you are looking at some third world contracts which are happening, coming to arbitration to our country. So like we go to Singapore, somebody coming to India, these are the three perspectives we are having to look at. And perhaps the foundation has been laid down so widely that we can welcome work coming from all sectors. Looking at arbitration law in general in India, we have to note that it came in play after we opened up our economy in 92. In 96, our Prime Minister, P.V. Narasimha Rao, he adopted the model law, which we call as UNCITRAL model law. That is the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. Later, the amendment came in 2015. That is, say, about 19 years after. So the gap between the first act and amendment is 15 years. The subsequent amendment came in 19. While the first amendment brings in timelines tighter, the latest amendment shows the importance of institutional arbitration, because a lot of arbitration has been in our country has been ad hoc, where not just lawyers, sometimes the arbitrators are also making their appearance count. However, with institutional arbitration, what happens is that timelines are more clear and fixed, and because of which delivery system is more time bound and far more efficient.
Point well taken, Shravant. Thanks for sharing these points with us. I'll go to Justice Kodandaram, and so if in about 2 minutes, if you could share with us, infrastructure is going to be in place in the next 18 months to indeed make the arbitration facility world-class and able to attract arbitrations from the world over. Can you give me about 2 to 3 points what should be done to indeed achieve the vision of Justice N.V. Ramana?
Well, Tarun, I would like to deviate here and put one perspective and make a clarification. This arbitration center, though named it as an international arbitration center, it is not confined to only international arbitrations. In fact, if you look at the state of Telangana and state of Andhra Pradesh, and also the country as a whole, today there's an enormous amount of arbitration work being developed within the country. But I remember one of the tourism minister of Malaysia, when we put in a query in one of the tours where I went, that where do you get your business from? Then he said the Malaysians traveling within the country. Likewise, here also, there is a huge requirement for the domestic arbitration, especially the center is proposed to be catered to neighboring states of Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, apart from the various contracts which are happening in the state of Telangana. So far as either for the domestic arbitration or for international arbitration, one important aspect about which I am concerned, and I have my thoughts on that, is with respect to the preparedness of the arbitrators and the preparedness of the arbitrators and the availability of the qualified arbitrators to conduct arbitrations. And in that context, I feel that a conscious effort has to be made to ensure bringing in institutions to create that human resource because after all, it is an intellectual resource and it has to be developed. The professionalism why do people go to, when you ask that question, why do people prefer Singapore? Why do people prefer London? Why do prefer Geneva? In earlier days, it used to be Hague, if you remember in olden days. Now, Dubai is also emerging as one of the hub for arbitrations. Why? One is it's not the physical facility of infrastructure alone, though that also plays a role with regard to the conducive atmosphere. But today it is much more easier because of the internet and availability of the way in which arbitration can be conducted seamlessly across the world. Sitting in somebody sitting in Hyderabad, somebody sitting in Australia, somebody sitting in US, somebody sitting in Canada. In fact, that has happened in one of the matters where I was concerned about in advising capacity. If that is the case, my opinion is that a concerted effort has to be made in building up that resource by creating the training facilities for arbitrators and to bring out more professional arbitrators so that the time taken and also the mechanism with which the entire of the process of arbitration gets completed is shortened, so that takes care of the fear expressed by the Shravan with regard to the time taken there.
Very valid point. Thank you for that intervention. Advocate Saket Sikri, what are these 3 points that you would like to submit that you feel that the vision for this arbitration center would be realized to its true potential?
See, Tarun, for any institution to grow and be successful, what is important is the confidence of the stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, I really mean the litigants. Ultimately, this has to be litigants to an arbitration who have to have confidence in an institution. Now, the very fact that such an institution is set up under a trust spearheaded by the Honorable Chief Justice of India and by senior judges, Justice Rao, Justice Kohli, and a former eminent judge, Justice Ravindran, that confidence is embedded in a system like this, in an institution like this. Now, with this confidence, it has to be taken to the next step. Now, like it is a very interesting institution, which is International Arbitration and Mediation Center. So it has both the facets of arbitration and mediation. Now, if you come up to the commercial contract draftings, most dispute resolution clauses will have something called MEDAP, which is mediation followed by arbitration. Now, here is a center that provides you with the facility of both, in the sense that in a dispute resolution clause of a contract, be it international or domestic, instead of having, we can specifically have a clause which would give jurisdiction to IAMC, and that clause can be structured in a MEDAP format, which is mostly done. That in case the disputes are not resolved by mediation, it will be referred to arbitration. So there is one center, one institution that provides both. So if the clause, which is the dispute resolution clause, can specifically have IAMC written in the clauses, that will be one starting point of this institution and making it achieve some international and domestic success. So if you go into mediation, half the disputes can be resolved by mediation. The balance that are not resolved by mediation will go into arbitration. That could be the first step. The other, I have an interesting observation here. I'm taking a cue from what Shravan said. There is an arbitration center in Delhi. There is an arbitration center in Mumbai. And now we have the state-of-the-art arbitration center coming up in Hyderabad. There can be an attempt to integrate these arbitration centers. For example, now I practice essentially in Delhi and in the Supreme Court, but I have also had matters in the Mumbai arbitration centers. But what happens is, suppose there is a dispute which is now referred by the Delhi High Court to the Delhi International Arbitration Center. But the essence, the parties, etc., are coming from Hyderabad or from Tamil Nadu. Now, if there is an integration of such, then there can be some sort of a division work, then the work can also go to Hyderabad and vice versa. So according to me, there should be an attempt made to integrate these arbitration centers so that all the arbitration centers and the work can be distributed in an adequate form. That is the second part. Third, of course, taking what Justice Kondaraman said, is having an institutional panel for both mediators and arbitrators. And when I say a panel, I do not mean to restrict such a panel to only India. The panel can comprise of eminent practitioners of both mediation and arbitration from various regions, various jurisdictions. There could be some experts from Singapore. There could be some experts from Malaysia. Apart from obviously having Indian experts, this will also inspire international confidence that there are some neutral, eminent, and experts on the field who are a part of this center. Then, of course, we need to have a very competent staff to take care of the functioning of the center, which, of course, as Justice just pointed out, that at 7:30 the hearing starts. So I can see that there is an element of competent staff already. There is one more aspect that we can look at, is to also hire some young, competent advocates who can work out as arbitration secretaries. Now, what happens is that in most of our experiences, both as lawyers and in some cases as arbitrators, when it comes to an arbitrator, there is really no help apart from what is being provided by the lawyers who are appearing on both sides. But if there is a panel that can be created and young lawyers from law schools or who are also practicing with certain year of experience can be put on the panel and can be assigned to an arbitration as an arbitration secretary, that itself will add further merit to the institution.
Thanks so much for sharing these varied and very good points.
Thank you.
I'll go to Advocate Shravan Shankar for the closing comment on the show today, with your suggestions how to make this center achieve its true potential.
Thank you, Tarun. So finally, coming to the points which benefit Hyderabad to put IAMC on the global map of arbitration on lines with Singapore, London, and in Paris. In fact, the arbitration center in Hyderabad is much larger facility than what we have in Dubai. However, like Saket Sikri has suggested, human resource is a very important element. These are the factors which matter a lot to an arbitration center. Its location, reputation, neutrality, the legal system, the local legal system, the panel of arbitration, and the pricing. However, Hyderabad has many advantages of it, like the weather conditions are a lot more neutral. The global there's a presence of global companies, including IT and pharma. There's a lot of aerospace presence, biotech, and it has well-connected roads and international airport. So these are some basic advantages because of which there is a great layground done for it to come up to become an international arbitration center.
Thank you so much. In fact, a very fine set of points made on today's show. We all are very lucky that we are witnessing the birth of an institution which has got so much backing it. I mean, such important people backing it. Secondly, a willingness on part of the people at the totem pole of the judiciary in India to back it and to ensure consensus for other judges and other people in the judicial system to back it. We wish Justice N.V. Ramanna and the whole team all the very best. And in a sense, we all feel good that we are part of it. And as Justice Chella Kodandaram shared with us that he was part of that very August event where the foundation stone laying ceremony was led. Now, as things progress, in a month or two, we'll do one more show to review what has happened and to trace the journey of this institution, a great institution in the making. Thank you so much, Justice Kodandaram, Advocate Saket Sikri, Advocate Shravan Shankar, for sharing your time with us and sharing all these good points. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Thank you so very much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.